Obviously, the violent unrest has continued throughout Britain. Police officers were attacked in Plymouth, Darlington and Belfast yesterday. There have been 370 arrests. Carolyn, what are your reflections on where we are? So I think we're into the 6th or 7th day of rioting.
Well, it's certainly a test of leadership for a new government, isn't it? This agenda that really can't be controlled at all. Look, the legitimate concerns that people have about immigration and the asylum system, we know about that, we've heard about that, but there is no excuse, as it's been said time and time again over the last few days, no excuse or justification for the kind of thuggery that we've been seeing. And of course, if you look back to 2011 when we had the last riots and Sir Keir Starmer was the Director of Public Prosecutions, there was a move then to get 24-hour courts up and running very, very quickly. But there wasn't the social media influencing back then that there is now. There wasn't that ability to get riots and groups together so quickly. And I think that's going to be the issue that the government will be grappling with right now.
Yeah, it is so interesting. This, I mean, to a certain extent, I regard the social media thing as a bit of a red herring in terms of the provocation. But in terms of how people are organising themselves, it's so true. And we forget how recent this is. I mean, I can still remember the 2011 riots, and I can remember actually being quite nervous living in London. Miranda, what's your view on this? I mean, frankly, it's much easier to organise a riot these days.
Well, it is. And actually, I know what you mean. The causes are really, really hard to diagnose. And I do think there's been an awful lot of kind of rushing to interpretation about this in the past few days. But, you're right, this social media phenomenon, even though it was around in 2011, it did not have the power and the reach in the same way. And we certainly didn't have, the government of our country getting into a spat with the billionaire who owns one of the most powerful social media networks about whether or not we had, civil unrest approaching civil war in the UK, because, this spat between the UK government and Elon Musk, who of course now owns Twitter and has changed it to X, has the potential to get quite nasty. It's not unprecedented, is it? I mean, we've had Sadiq Khan having a war of words with Donald Trump in the past, when Donald Trump insisted on the basis of zero knowledge and understanding that there were no-go areas in London. So we sort of been on this territory before, but not on this scale. And, I was talking at the end of last week to the very excellent Sundar Katwala, who runs the think tank British Future, which is all about, integration and multiculturalism. And he was saying in the past, we've known that some of these far right groups, for example, the EDL, it's not really an organization as such. It's certainly not, recognizable in terms of having a structure. But once you have these, methods of people to organize, it can quickly turn into something else. And I think that's what's worrying about the current situation, is we don't really feel that it's a predictable pattern of behaviour over the next few days and weeks. And so the government is rushing to catch up, and it's a bit cat and mouse.
And just to get back to Elon Musk, he responded when Sir Keir Starmer said we shouldn't tolerate attacks on Muslim communities by saying, shouldn't you be concerned about attacks on all communities? Which, of course, should be the case. And of course, the police have to be even-handed. But I have to say, it is a bit rich, isn't it, of Elon Musk to say that when America is deeply divided, his man Trump has denied a presidential election result in 2020. He does have a responsibility as an owner of a large social media platform to get people to moderate their language. But he and the other owners of these social media platforms are not doing that. And the government's struggling with regulation of the online world. Who knows how that can be done? I mean, they're way behind schedule on that. And they certainly want to get the Online Safety Act to go further, but it's got too many loopholes at the moment. It's taken out certain sections, but it needs to have others added. And what happens even if some of these social media formats are taken down? Is it going to be like whack-a-mole, that you'll just have others popping up in their place? It seems to be an everlasting battle.
There's so much we can say about this. Heidi Alexander was on Breakfast this morning. She's the policing minister. She gave a response to Elon Musk's tweet.
I do think these comments are unjustifiable. If you've got a platform, a large social media platform, then you've also got a responsibility. I think it is deeply irresponsible. I think everyone should be appealing for calm. Use of language such as a civil war is in no way acceptable. We're seeing police officers being seriously injured, buildings set alight, and so I really do think that everyone who has a platform should be exercising their power responsibly.
I mean, Elon Musk is obviously an idiot, and it's kind of sort of God's joke that he's made this man who is clearly kind of lacking in certain social antenna, one of the richest, 2 or 3 richest men on earth. But you don't see Bill Gates or Jeff Bezos or indeed Mark Zuckerberg behaving like this. And I just find it absolutely bizarre that he would use his platform and he kind of amplifies conspiracy theories. But dealing with this issue is so difficult. What do you do? I mean, the trouble is the platforms have the power. Imagine a government that tried to close Twitter. It would be appalling. And of course, as you say, Carolyn, it's a game of whack-a-mole. If you try and close down Telegram or Signal, people will use other platforms. It's an intractable problem. I mean, Miranda, the Online Safety Act was passed last year, but it is taking a long time to implement. Ofcom is the regulator in charge of it, and it's consulting in some detail, but it will be some time before the powers come into effect.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think we should be looking to Ofcom to sort out the problem that we have this summer on the streets of the UK. That is for sure. I mean, on the topic of Elon Musk as mental capacities, I have to say I did really enjoy Tim Farron, the former leader of the Lib Dems, who often has a rocky time in the public debate, calling Elon Musk a Burke, which is a wonderfully retro term for somebody who decides to kind of wade into a topic of which they have zero understanding. But that is the problem, isn't it? He is a free speech fundamentalist. And America has a completely different set of legal frameworks around free speech, which we even see as excessive in our, we have protections against hate speech, etc. And in a sense, it's a kind of example of the technology industry imposing the most extreme version of American values on the rest of us, with all those consequences that come with them. And actually, it can be very serious. I mean, we know what happened, in Myanmar with misinformation and potentially disinformation, which is deliberate misinformation, leading to actual bloodshed, in parts of the Asian world. And Facebook, now Meta, being asked to crack down and to act more on that. So I think this whole topic is really difficult because global corporations are very powerful. I mean, the EU is trying to go further, and there's a huge backlash against that.
I mean, it's true. I mean, these companies are based in America, so in essence, it's extremely hard for the UK government to get to them. And also, as you say, it is a good point. The Americans do have a fundamentally different view about what free speech is. And in fact, on the big thing, we'll be talking about free speech and the decision not to go ahead with the government's free speech legislation. But I have to say one thing, which is that I think we're okay because Rory Stewart has told Elon Musk off. His tweet says, since when have you claimed to understand British communities or British politics? Exactly how many days have you spent with these communities? Does it ever occur to you that this might perhaps be the wrong time to sound off about a subject you know nothing about? So I'm pretty certain that Elon Musk will be thinking hard about Rory's points made to him.